Life has a way of catching us off guard. One moment we're walking a familiar path, and the next, we're thrust into a storm we never saw coming. The truth is, life doesn't play favorites. Before most of us even reach the age of 50, we've already faced struggles that test our resolve, our patience, and sometimes even our sense of purpose. These chalets aren't polite. They don't knock on the door to announce their arrival. They barge in uninvited, upending the routines we cling to, shattering the plans we've meticulously crafted. It's in these moments of upheaval, when the weight of the world feels unbearable, that a single burning question rises in our minds. How do we keep moving forward? This isn't a question unique to our time. Centuries ago, the ancient Stoics, men and women who endured war, exile, disease, and betrayal, asked the same thing. They too faced the chaos of life head-on. But instead of crumbling under the pressure, they built a philosophy to withstand it. They didn't just survive, they grew stronger. The Stoics understood something profound about human existence. It is suffering that is not an exception to the rule. It is the rule. They did not view adversity as an enemy, but as a teacher who could smooth the soul and hone the mind. Their wisdom wasn't theory or education. It was down to earth, practical wisdom born of difficult trials they had themselves endured. It was made to be used, not pored over. Their mantras, though, are among the most powerful tools we were left with, short, potent truths that hold the mind fast and that steel the spirit. Because these mantras downright address the human condition, they've stood the test of time. Through the noise they shine through, cutting the noise with clarity during the time we all feel like we are going around in circles. They make us solid when the world is unstable, and provide resistance when every step is a war. These Stoic mantras are like a lantern in life when everything is turning dark, and we don't know how this path is going to get us to where we need to be. They don't promise to take away the situations, they help us get through. The process is in that journey, through the struggle, through the uncertainty, and it's in that we rediscover our own strength, our own purpose, and our own unshakable resolve. Therefore, while we stand at this crossroad of labor and hope, I invite you not to the Christianity of the churches, but to the wisdom of the Stoics. Not as figures of a bygone age now much further removed from us, but as kindred spirits like us that had to navigate the trials of life and walk away with lessons that echo as deeply now as they did at that time. Life is not an interaction with words. It is an interaction with mantras that are more than words, which is why these are more than mantras. They're lifelines, tools to help us not just get past the chaos that life throws into our lives, but learn to turn that chaos into something meaningful. Let's take a step forward now into their timeless wisdom. Part 1. Memento Mori. Remember you will die. There's a strange beauty to how life just makes us forget its finitude. We spend our days paralyzed by the minutiae, stressing over the small inconveniences, pursuing the pointless goals, scared to do what we want to do because of what others expect of us. Yet underneath it all, there's an unspoken truth we all share. Our time here is finite. The Stoics didn't turn away from this fact but embraced it, so they called it Memento Mori. Remember, you will die. It's at first glance a morbid thing to say. Why should I think about death? Memento Mori isn't about dwelling in the end. It's about finding clarity in the now. This is not a cry of despair, but an invitation to live. The philosopher-emperor that ruled during the endless challenges, Marcus Aurelius, reminded himself, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." Picture your life as an hourglass for a moment. A grain of sand is each moment you lived. Your past, already fallen grains, unalterable, irretrievable. Yet here are the grains in the top chamber still. That sand embodies opportunity, chance, and choices still at your disposal. We're not mourning the grains that have fallen, but rather celebrating those that still cling to the barn door. Memento Mori makes us sharper. That's because it reminds us all that life's trivialities, the petty arguments, the mindless scrolling, chasing external validation, aren't real. The choice today is what you worry about, and the things today worrying about disappear into the background of mortality. What remains is what's essential, the things we love, the things we strive for, the things we are kind to. Not just nudging us to live meaningful lives, but pushing us to do something. Of all regrets in life, it's not the things we've tried and failed at. It's the things we didn't do. Memento Mori speaks softly to us, whispering to us to take that step, speak those unspoken words, or lead that dream we are terrified of. Imagine it's the end of your journey looking back. You will remember what moments? What will you be proud of that you did? Memento Mori lets us live in such a way that when it comes, we can say that we lived without wishing we'd lived differently. This is a reminder that life is not measured by its time, but by the richness in life of the things in it, and the courage you have to actually live as you are. And then the idea about how fragile life is should be your guide, not as a shadow, but as a light that leads one to what's important. Strip it of the distractions, fuel your actions, and remind you to live with purpose, urgency, and gratitude. And while we can't control how much is left of the grains in our hourglass, we can control how those that remain drop. Part 2. Amor Fati, Love Your Fate. Things rarely happen the way we expect them to. We plan, opportunities slip away, and other unexpected issues arise. It's in those disruptive moments that we tend to get stuck in resistance, frustration, even despair. But the Stoics offer a transformative perspective. Amor Fati, love your fate. It's not about passive acceptance or blind optimism. This is about seeing everything as being inevitable, not just, but essential. This was such an idea that Friedrich Nietzsche took and said, "Want nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity." In essence, he asked us to live the life that it is, rather than the life we would like it to be. Let's look at the story of Thomas Edison. In 1914, a fire of massive proportions consumed his factory and the years of work and inventions they had cost him. This is a catastrophic loss for most people, a thing to be given up. But Edison, he saw it differently. The last report said he told me there was great value in disaster. All our mistakes are being burned up. Thank God we can start anew. He didn't mourn what was lost. Instead, he saw this as an opportunity to reinvent. He was back at work within weeks, innovating and making things again. This is what Amor Fati is. This is its essence. We hear equal measures of success and failure, of pain and joy, but it doesn't mean we ignore pain or pretend setbacks aren't difficult. Instead, it encourages us to consider any experience to be necessary to us growing. Life doesn't just happen to us, it happens for us. If every heartbreak, every obstacle, and every failure contains a lesson or a chance to evolve, I believe it makes us tougher inside. Imagine life as a river. You can't stop the current or the rocks it brings. You can fight against it and try to resist until you don't have an iota of energy left. Or you can let it flow through you because the bends and the rapid that you stumble into are part of the journey. Amor Fati instructs us to stop swimming against the current and to swim with it instead, and to know that the turbulent waters create the kind of person we're supposed to be. Consider some of your own challenges, times life didn't align the way you wanted. Maybe a job fell through, or a relationship ceased, or a dream wasn't real. When feelings of loss or frustration come up in the moment, that's okay. And how many times have those very challenges blossomed, ultimately into something bigger, missed, but better than you could have ever imagined? It's not an easy mindset to have. Practice goes into it, and a shift in perspective. It invites us to look beyond the short-term discomfort and have faith in the bigger picture. When we fall in love with our fate, it doesn't matter if we hit a bump in the road or don't get ahead of the curve. Our setbacks become stepping stones. We stop and think, why me? Instead of, how can I learn? Amor Fati is more than a philosophy. It's a way of being. It's a brave and fearless facing of life in all its surprises. It's about the beauty in the mess, the wisdom in the struggle, and the opportunity in the challenge. When we live this way, all storms become the seeds of growth and transformation. And when we have lived this way, we find we had a strength we did not know we had, where even the harshest storms take shape as a source of strength. Part 3. The Dichotomy of Control. Focus only on what you can control. Uncertainties of life, unexpected events, random flow of events, and the will not to bend outcomes. This unpredictability frequently leaves us feeling powerless, trapped in a never-ending chain of guilt for things that are out of our control. But the Stoics, with their timeless wisdom, offer a liberating perspective, the dichotomy of control. This principle is simple but profound. It forces us to separate things that we can control from things that we cannot control. As any one of the great Stoic philosophers from the likes of Epictetus so perfectly said, "What disturbs people are not events, but their interpretations of those events." Think about this. A storm is on the horizon. You can't control when it will come, how strong it will be, or how much damage it could inflict. And you can choose what you say or do. And you can secure your home, looking after your supplies, and protecting your loved ones. You could try to worry about the storm itself, but that's an exercise in futility. But preparing for it, that's empowering. This has very little to do with literal storms. Consider the workplace. Imagine missing out on a promotion you spent lots of time going after. Without effort, you can quickly find yourself spinning in a place of frustration and bitterness, locking into office politics or the decision-maker's bias, things outside your control. Though Stoicism tries to redirect that energy, instead of dwelling on the uncontrollable, focus on what you can control, improving your skills, broadening your network, or pursuing new opportunities. It is not about the indifference to life's challenges. In very practical terms, it's about clarity. We want to know where efforts can be productive and where not. If we waste energy by simply fighting the uncontrollable, we are only depleting ourselves. However, when we shift our focus to our actions, thoughts, and attitudes, we regain our power. Picture you as holding the bow and the arrow. With your role, aim and draw the bow and release. Wind, distance, and too many other such factors beyond your control influence the outcome, whether the arrow hits its target. Certainly you can't promise the end result, but you will know your work is sharp and well-intentioned. The rest are not yours to order. This idea is freeing. It gives us the opportunity to let go of things we never should have been carrying anyway. Sometimes it's the difference between drowning in anxiety over a problem and being able to find peace in purposeful action. By limiting ourselves to that which we can control, we abort chaos and catalyst into clarity and stiffness into power. Overcome the struggles of today and look around. Have you been fighting storms? Which of them are you? Can you release what's out of your control and focus on what truly matters? The dichotomy of control is larger than the purest tool for survival. It's an instruction for thriving. Being who we are, mastery of this principle brings us in alignment with the reality. The storm and every moment bring us calm in the storm and strength. It's not about surrendering to fate. It's about taking command of what is truly ours, such as our actions, our thoughts, and our attitudes. Our true power is where it lies. The truth is, life will always throw some challenges at you, and that will include moments of doubt, pain, and uncertainty that knock you to your core. Stoic philosophy isn't going to banish these miseries. Instead, it puts those tools in our hands so we aren't afraid or helpless when faced with them, but rather courageous and purposeful. Another example. Think of those 3 mantras we've covered. Memento Mori reminds us of life's fragility so that we remember to do the things that really matter and to live in order. It takes procrastination to action and fear to appreciate the ephemeral instant. Amor Fati shows us that when the random pieces of the fabric of our lives become folded into our growth, we can see it for what it is and not what we dictate it to be. The idea of it is totally shifting our mindset from something to resist to something to accept. And we see setbacks not as setbacks, but as steps forward to a stronger self. Finally, the dichotomy of control delivers us from the weight of the uncontrollable so we can direct our energy towards that which we have the power over, our thoughts, our actions, and our responses. It's a roadmap through the chaos, clarity, resilience, and inner peace in any life. All of these Stoic principles operate together as a formidable framework that, rather than offer you the ability to ride out life's trials, actually teaches you how to transform them into means to grow. Life is not what happened to us. Life is how we handled it. Envision someone in a stormy sea. On the one hand, the waves are out of their control. On the other, the sailor strives to steer the ship, get in proper order with the sails, and continue on course. The bottom line is this: Stoicism doesn't keep the storm from coming, but it's not afraid of the sailor. It arms him with strength and purpose. These mantras will be your compass as you live through life. Live in the now. Accept every obstacle and concentrate on what you can do. Life's trials don't become threats when you live this way. They turn you into teachers instead and guide you towards a life of meaning, growth, and fulfillment. The road is going to be a hard one, but with these tools you will find it an easy and worthwhile one. Thrive, don't just survive. Stoic wisdom in a nutshell.